Hello everyone and welcome to the 2022 Discraft's Green Mountain Championship. We are here in Jeffersonville, Vermont for the beginning of the playoffs of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I am Jeremy Koling and I am very excited to welcome back to the booth, the Jomez booth, Brian Earhart. Before we get into that and you joining us, I want to talk really quick about reminding you guys the patent pending podcast is going on. Jesse from Trash Panda is talking about the future of disc golf. It's very cool. It's available on your favorite streaming platforms, so go check that out. Brian, it's an honor to have you here with us.
I think the last time I was in the booth was 2019 Texas States with Yuli, so it's been a long time since I've been in the booth with you. First time you and I have worked together, but I'm so excited. This tournament is amazing.
Yeah, we've hosted some of the fun, silly stuff before, but never actual JomezPro meat and potatoes. We've got New England's meat and potatoes, Steve Brinster, the GOAT up here, and it is awesome to have him. Aaron Gossage, talk about this guy for a second. I mean, my goodness.
He's a great kid. He works really hard. He's fully committed to this game, and he just seems to keep getting better and better, and I think he leveled up at the World Championships.
Ricky Wysocki, he has done incredible things on this property here at the Smuggler's Notch Disc Golf Center. He is looking to rebound after a disappointing Worlds performance for him, which actually isn't a typical disappointing finish for most people, but obviously he was expecting to add a third world title to his name. But Calvin Heimburg rounds out our card. I mean, the most consistent player on tour, arguably. He is always there. And we are here at Brewster Ridge, the wooded course here at the Smuggler's Notch Resort. And on hole 1, starts off with one of the easier holes. Straightforward, par 3, 322 feet, slight break to the right, slight left to right slope. But other than that, I mean, most players are going to go with a backhand turnover with a putter or a mid-range, or just simple straight flick.
First in the box today, joining us from Warwick, New York. Sponsored by UDISC, designer of this here course. Let's give it up for Steve Brinster.
Jeff Spring might say co-designer, but yeah, Steve Brinster had a lot to say about the design on these two courses on this epic piece of property. And Steve, a very traditional style player there. Very few forehands implemented in his game plan. Goes with a flippy rock.
Sponsored by Discraft. Gave the World Championship one hell of a run a couple of weeks ago. Let's give it up for Aaron Gossage.
My name is Aaron Gossage. I'm from Grand Junction, Colorado, and this is my second year on tour. This year I definitely played a lot better than last year. I've definitely had some ups and downs, but overall I've been really happy with my season. Had a lot of good finishes, and I think that's mainly due to the fact that I played the courses before. I have a game plan going in. I like to set very achievable goals. Making the match play was kind of my beginning of the year goal, and then later in the year I set myself another goal. I was like, I need to really grind hard and do a good performance at Worlds, and so I achieved that one as well. I had a lot of confidence. I would say that was one of 2 tournaments that year that I was so confident that I was picking myself to win it, and I was like, you have the best game plan to actually win this event. So going into it, I had that in my head. But overall expectations, I was hoping to just play 5 solid rounds. I'd say the first 3 rounds and half the 4th round, I was really just set on my game plan. I'm like, just do what you gotta do, give yourself opportunities, and there wasn't that much pressure. And then kind of the second half of the 4th round and then all of the 5th round, I could really feel those nerves. As soon as Paul got ahead of me in that last round, it really kind of woke me up a little bit. And instead of, playing not to lose, I was like, hey, now you have to execute. You're no longer winning this tournament. You gotta really execute the shots. Right there at the end, I really, pushed hard, tried to put a lot of pressure on Paul, and got all the way back to force the playoffs. So I was really happy with how I battled back at the end. That last day, a bunch of my college friends, all the guys I played collegiate disc golf with, drove out, 12-hour drive from Grand Junction. They came and watched that last round. We all went out to dinner, had a good time. I had no idea they were there. They hid from me all day long during the round. Although I was so focused, they said I looked at them a couple times and didn't even see them. after I stepped off the island, that was like the first like happy moment I had all day, where I saw them and I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know, I've got the support from back home. So it was a really cool feeling, and I'm so glad they came out and supported me. Two of the things that I really am going to take away from this tournament is just kind of knowing that I am at that level, that I can compete with these guys. This is kind of, you know, above what I was expecting for Worlds. So now I've got to raise those goals a little bit. And of course, yeah, that means that I'm going to be striving for a win now. This is kind of like the closest you can get without actually getting a win. So that's going to be my next goal. Got a lot of confidence going into all these last 4 events, and I think that I should be able to do well if I can keep this momentum rolling.
This guy right here is the real deal, and I will say physically he has all the tools, but mentally this kid is optimistic and earnest, and it's only going to be a superpower for him moving forward.
The ability to throw the zone speed on a 322-foot hole, even though he comes up short here, is also going to be a huge advantage that he's going to take with him into his future, because that is a slow disc to get that distance. And it's a low ceiling here as well.
We have a 2-time world champion and 4-time GMC champion, sponsored by Dynamic Discs. Let's give it up for Ricky Wysocki.
Okay, it's not necessarily a low ceiling, but it's not an infinitely high ceiling, so. Well, Ricky's also going to go with the slowest disc you can possibly throw for this shot shape.
I mean, I feel like these types of discs, if you throw them hard with decent spin, they just go dead straight.
And that's really all you want to do here.
Exactly.
You do not need it to drift right, but Ricky's going to get a little drift right at the end. Bullseye.
And that's how you can take a simple short hole like this and make it a little bit trickier. Just offset the basket a little bit. It kind of forces players to think, oh, do I have to bend the corner? No,
Yeah.
It's more of a straight shot.
Yep.
Give a warm welcome to Calvin Heimburg.
If you drew a straight line from the tee pad, the direction the tee pad's facing, to the pin, you would be 20 feet from the pin.
Exactly.
But it totally makes you think. And look, we've got Calvin going overstable fairway driver to get the flex. And this is going to drift way right now. And that's what this hole, it just tricks players into making that mistake right there. Calvin's got to look. He's pin high.
It's so weird to have a hole this simple starting out. I've seen players completely derail their round mentally by missing this hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there in front of you. You feel like you know so many difficult holes are coming up. And hole 2 is, I think, the second hardest hole in the course. So you want to get off to a good start, and yet it just doesn't start that way for most people for some reason. And just over a third of the field actually able to start with the birdie. Steve Brinster with that patented straddle putt, and look at the delivery there.
But do you notice the lack of the swings, and do you notice the lack of the off arm grabbing the disc?
He
A little,
didn't do
little
the-
change.
Yeah, Steve Brinster known for doing like the driving the school bus, where he kind of steers the wheel a bit, and that time very simple.
I like seeing a player's form change even after all these years playing the game.
Yeah, the old dog can learn new tricks. I like to see that too. Unfortunately, somebody taught Ricky how to birdie a long time ago, so that old dog's still doing the same trick he's been doing for many, many years. What are we trying to do here?
I mean, the initial shot here is just straight. You try to push this as straight as possible. The drone is flying up this left gap, and distance matters so much on this tee shot, because if you're too far back, you have to bend such a more technical shot to even maneuver the screen. So yeah, tee shot's really, really important here if you want to have an easy up and down.
There's that right side of the initial fairway. Between the right side trees and that wall actually opens up a second fairway. That doesn't seem like you hit your shot, but if any of the players end up there on this card, they're actually not going to be that upset about it.
It's kind of the theme for Brewster Ridge, though. The trees staggered throughout the fairway are pretty clean. There's not a lot of underbrush unless you go way off the fairway.
Brinster's not going to love that positioning. He's going to be in a scramble mode. Ricky, a little bit of a counter skip. Stays in the middle. That's still going to be a pretty tricky up and down. Just a bit too much power for Aaron. Not quite enough hyzer. That drifts left, kicks left, and also going to be in scramble mode. As you see, a lot of players out here with beanies and long sleeve shirts. This is probably the coldest round we have played in quite some time, and Calvin's just thrown. That's the best drive we've ever seen on this one. I think I've said that like 5 times about James Conrad's drives on this hole, but that's one of the best drives you'll ever see.
Yeah, that's going to be a chip shot forehand if he wants it.
Definitely something that we haven't dealt with in a long time, though. A little bit of that bitter cold it's tricky out here, especially in the north. You got a little bit of the wind you can see coming through the trees, which makes these shots even just a bit tougher.
I wonder how Steve feels hitting a tree like that and getting off the fairway on a course that he designed.
I'm sure it's never great. I mean, I don't care if I design the hole or not. If I hit a tree, I'm not going to be
like, are you proud? Are you proud that the hole is challenging, you know?
Ricky actually does indeed park this shot. That was a fantastic flex. Had just enough space to be able to force over the felon, and look at that. That's going to be a bullseye start for Wysocki. I see what you're saying, though. I think it's a good point. Well done, course. I left you there for a reason, and now I'm paying
Yeah.
the price.
I mean, it's one of the shorter courses the players see all year, and yet the scores never seem to be that scorching.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about these trees, and it's something about it. It's just, look at Steve forcing over the Anheuser forehand. That hits a tree late in flight. He's going to have a long putt. Actually, looks like he's outside C2, so most likely a bogey coming up here for Brinster. Finally gets up to Calvin's drive, though. Wow, what a bomb that was. That couldn't be any simpler with the Toro approach. Perfectly played hole for Calvin. Very excited that World Championships will be returning to Vermont next summer. This place, individually, each course is phenomenal, but as a complex, in my opinion, top disc golf complex in the world.
I have to agree with you. I think these two courses are amazing, and I think the players universally say that they have so much fun playing out here. They love the variety of shots they have to throw, discs that come out of their bag and go back in their bag, and it only makes for good competition.
I think Maple Hill is the top-rated course in the country, and yet I've heard people say, I don't really like Maple Hill much, which to that I say, I don't really trust you anymore, because I love Maple Hill, and most people do. Obviously, it's why it's rated what it is. But to your point, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything bad about either one of these two courses. And what you see out here as we're flying over hole 3, this is kind of a must-get par 3, but what you see when we're playing Brewster is you see hills and you see trees, but what you don't see are the mountain views that surround this place. The players, when they drive into the course, there's something special and magical about this part of the country at this time of the year. Ricky Wysocki's going to get the 2 hard ones and miss the easy one here on hole 3 with an early tree kick. This is a bit more what you're looking for, just low driven over the hill, overstable putter.
Yeah, there's really no hidden challenge to this hole. It's a tiny bit uphill. It's going to stable your disc out a tiny bit, but really straightforward 282.
Aaron's got this turned over, but he's got space out there to hyzer back in time. It looked like he was going to maybe turn it over into the tree line. Instead, he's in C1. This is heading a bit left, but perfectly fine. Ricky, even though he's highly aggressive. Oh, no, he is actually. Nah, that seems like a layup. The speed it came out of his hand made me think for a second.
Would have been a little bit higher. I feel like it would have been at least a safe run from him. That's going to be a par.
One of the things Aaron did so well in Emporia a couple weeks ago was really deliver consistent putting. He wasn't perfect, but he was consistent and it was reliable and he drew confidence from it. That right there looked like the stroke that we saw at the World Championships.
And a little bit different looking putt there, but still in. It's going to be a birdie for Brinster.
A father of twins who are, I believe they just turned 10 years old this summer. And obviously a husband to Leslie Brinster. He's just one of the most well-liked individuals up here, and for good reason. He's been doing it for a long time. 2013 U.S. champion.
So hole number 4, Jerm. Another short par 4. Uphill adds a little bit of distance, but it's another technical placement shot to about here. Backhand turnover works, forehand Stockheiser works, and then accessing this green is kind of the challenge. Depending on if you're center cut or you're too far left or right, you're going to have to manufacture some shot up to this green. Just another great technical par 4 that doesn't have a ton of distance.
Calvin going to be going with the eagle, and this is a... Wow, that thing has turned so much. That's a problem, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of lanes back there. Like I said, there's not a lot of underbrush. It's pretty clean to scramble from, but there's so many gaps that you have to...
Yeah, there's not one single gap that looks good. There's just a lot of not looking good gaps, bad looking.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Gossage makes the pretty common mistake for the forehand. He went with kind of a flippier Raptor, trying to push it forward and just swung it wide.
I like the idea of it. I think that you do need to stand up the forehand, as Brinster has got this one looking pretty good. It's a little low, but in the fairway is paramount. But if you flip up the forehand, you're giving yourself a good chance to not skip right where Calvin is. But you got to make sure you make this initial gap. Oh, boy.
That roll bounce could have been much worse had that been 3 inches to the left. So somewhat fortunate for Ricky.
And certainly something that will be... I'm looking forward to watching as Aaron hits a tree here is how he's performing in the woods. We got to see 5 rounds of fairly wide open play with hyzers, hyzers, and hyzers. Let's see how he adapts to this style with all that momentum that he's feeling now, riding high off that incredible run. Ricky a bit off the mark. Steve Brinster's off the rock wall that's going to separate him from the basket. He's going to be about 75 feet away from the pin. But Ricky still has work to do. And now he doesn't have much left. Look at that, Calvin. He's just not even thinking about trying to challenge any of those gaps because they can just kick you into an even worse spot. Smart play, and let's see how he adapts. Just fine.
This course really reminds me of the courses that the players played at the PCS Sula this year. Okay. Not very long, but angles and shapes make this short technical course so challenging for even the best players in the world, and you never see that hot of rounds out here.
Oh, the good effort. Guarantee you that putter is incredibly understable and has been in the bag for longer than most of our audience has been playing disc golf.
Don't doubt that for a second. Gossage cashes in a par.
It's going to be pars for the entire card as long as they can clean up these short putts. Not often do you see 4 players of this caliber playing a sub 600 foot par 4 with no looks for the birdie. That's really a testament to how difficult some of these alleys truly are.
Alrighty, hole number 5, 305 feet. This is another one of those holes like we were talking about, Jerm. The basket's just offset to the right. Again, if you go straight, you're going to be about 30 feet, 35 feet left of the basket. Players are going to go with a stock forehand these days. You can throw that late flip turnover if you want. Another short, challenging par 3 that's not a gimme.
I'm surprised to see this is the third easiest hole. I feel like this one's so tricky with that out-of-bounds wall on the left side. If you do hit a tree down this left fairway, oftentimes they will kick OB, but Calvin has dialed this one up wonderfully.
I love the eagle flick.
Yeah, that's something that I haven't really seen him do much. Normally, with these type of shots, we see him go with that Draco or the Quasar or the Firebird even.
Well, you saw him kind of scoop that forehand on hole 1 and saw it off early. That was a perfect adjustment on this hole.
And Buzz OS is the play here for Gossage. We've seen players like Macbeth go zone on this one. 300 is a good range for some of those players that can get that slow disc. Really, you're just trying to make this gap here and just hope that you can get down the hill. That's fine. That's what you're looking to do with the backhand shot. It's really ambitious to get much closer than that with the backhand.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to smack a putter really hard and have it late flip, give it a little bit more height, that's a decent play. But yeah, forehand's so much safer.
And Ricky catching the corner tree just around the corner of what you can see. There's a couple of trees that just get in your way. And you really have to keep it straight for a long time, and it has to break late if you want to park this one. Speedy putt from Brinster. Gets a little bit past the basket. He's got a tiny bit of work left for the par.
I'm kind of interested to see
Great.
and hear why Aaron is incorporating a Buzz OS on some of these forehands. He was throwing the zone seemingly all over the place, up to like 350 at the World Championships.
Right. That's why I was a bit surprised. Oh my gosh, tree direction. Right into the basket. Whoa.
That's a nice little blessing for him. That's not too bad.
He's glad he left that tree on the course.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, I was thinking about like Macbeth. Like I said, just we've seen Macbeth go with that zone before, and Gossage has got Macbeth's flick by, 60, 70 feet. And so to see him go with a mid-range speed as opposed to a putter speed was a bit surprising. But either way, he got the birdie, as did Calvin, and a par save for Steve and Ricky. On to hole 6, par 3, 345, and again, just slightly offset. I mean, this is one that makes you think hyzer, 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 but really what it is just a drifty, floating disc that just slightly moves its way down the hill. If you go hyzer, you're more than likely, if you hit the gap, you're going to be past the basket, way left. You just got to hit this initial with flat. And that's one route away from working pretty okay.
I would say this is the most fun ace run on the entire course. You can throw a little floaty, late flipping hyzer, or you can go with your shot. Do you go with a forehand turnover on this?
Yes. Yeah. And that is what happens when you go with an overstable disc. Gossage going zone, and it just doesn't have a chance to really straighten and flatten as it gets down the hill. Steve does this a lot. The standstill gets usually quite a bit of control with that, but this time gets away from him, pulls it a bit right.
It's going to be a tough upshot, too. Still top of the hill, having to hit the brakes on that second.
I mean, I almost would. Ricky is throwing. See the difference there. Just straight the whole way, and he's got his third bullseye, third birdie of the round.
And Ricky is a player that has learned over time to throw stubborn discs only, but he has some in his bag that he can still hit hard, but the fade is much softer. I think over time, Aaron's going to get used to throwing these types of discs while still having some that he can control on that more subtle fade.
I love seeing the little bounces on the ground as they jump left and right.
There are so many roots and stumps on this course. You have to watch your feet when you're walking out here.
Great approach from Steve. What I was going to say before Ricky threw is I feel like that shot is almost as difficult, if not more difficult, than the tee. You don't practice from back there.
It's a nice fortunate kiss off the flag. Gossage for a long birdie here.
Gives it a good run, a bit high, and he's going to have about 24 feet left for the par now. And that's a good, solid, high delivery. A lot of times when you have that long par putt, after just missing your birdie, that putt comes low. Not for Aaron.
I mean, I have to think that what he's been able to do this year and the amount of performances he's had where he's really popped off can only help his confidence moving forward. And especially on those comebackers, it's going to make you more aggressive running longer putts like he's been doing. Oh, man,
Yeah.
This is a fantastic par 4. Another sub 600-foot par 4 that players, it's not a gimme. You have to push this elbow. So the drone is flying kind of the early gap that a lot of players hit on accident. You almost want to play a placement shot to the corner, which is a very straight shot to this basket, but a lot of times you can't see the gaps in the trees when you're throwing the hyzer. This is one that you have to sit on the tee pad and throw hyzer after hyzer after hyzer and throw a very disciplined angle on this tee shot.
Yeah, you almost want to go to the landing zone and play it backwards in your mind.
Exactly.
Ricky's thrown this really well, but look at that, the invisible trees, and he was a bit surprised. I thought that had a good chance to make the corner.
Yeah, I feel like on this hole, some players just really try to chuck the hyzer and hope that they sneak through that tree line. Some players have a very specific gap that they're trying to hit. Calvin's going to get a nasty kick off to the right side.
This is looking pretty money if this slows down. It might have a bit too much power. No, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's the absolute ideal landing zone.
You'd really love to be just like 5 feet in front of that little gravel tee. That's kind of like the spot. But anything in that vicinity.
That's fine. We'll accept it.
I think I said vicinity. I don't know. But anywhere in near that tee is just great. The interesting thing I'm seeing here with these stats, the birdie percentage is nearly the same as hole 1. And that just surprised me so much because hole 1 is so simple seeming, and this one is so complicated as you see Ricky kicking way left, and he's going to be in some serious trouble. But this one obviously going to produce quite a bit more bogeys than hole 1. Once again, Steve going with the standstill, and once again, that's another inside tree.
I mean, you wonder how much he is practicing compared to someone like Ricky Wysocki these days. I mean, when he was 2013 U.S. champion, when he won USDGC, he still had his twins. He still had the wife, the house, the business.
Yep.
And it was an incredible story when that happened, and here he is still competing with these guys.
Ricky's got out of the woods, but he's still a long way from the pin. Aaron, however, has got a nice approach, and he's only got about 25 feet left for the birdie. Such an advantage if you get off the tee clean on 7. Well done.
We've seen a couple forehands out of Steve
Yeah.
Brinster today. That's pretty rare. Not too shabby.
Calvin put the brakes on. It's right there at C1's edge, just outside the circle. And he's got that pesky tree dividing the middle of the basket. That's going to be a really tough putt for the par.
I feel like that's the kind of stance that where, you know, you straddle left, straddle right. Oh, okay. That's fine.
Yep. All right. Okay. Well, Ricky straddled right and then just drains the par from 80 feet.
Oh, that's so nasty.
What What a change of emotion. I mean, you're going into this one thinking, all right, I kicked early tree. My second shot's kicked in the worst spot. Now I'm 80 feet for the par, about to take a bogey. No, that's not how Ricky thinks. Every shot's an opportunity to gain momentum, and now that's going to propel him into hole 8. Calvin, however, finding the roadblock with the cage. Aaron Gossage, however, he is in for the birdie, and that puts him at 3 under. Bit unorthodox, but we've all seen Steve do that off to the side, kind of like a horseshoe style putt. It's not that awkward for him, just happens to be awkward for everyone else. Hole 8, Brian. This one, it looks relatively flat, doesn't it? Right here on camera, it's like, oh yeah, maybe it's a little uphill at the end. No, it's uphill the entire way. It's like 60 feet elevation rise. This one's an absolute beast. 625 plays like it's 850 feet. Got to get a big drive if you want any chance to birdie this hole. You got to clear 400 feet in these last 2 trees that you're going to see in the tee. You got to clear those and make your way left if you want to have any shot. Aaron's blistered this. That's amazing.
I love that he's doing the same thing that he did at Worlds. He's been throwing that same flippy Raptor on nearly every tee shot, and he's just keeping it simple. You need distance on this tee shot, but you need to hit these gaps, too. This is not a gimme.
Oh, good force over, stable finish for Ricky, and that is right by that gravel tee. I would say if I could put it in a perfect place, I would place it right where Ricky is. That's another really great shot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's no trees off the tee so far for our group, and that is saying a lot for hole 8. Right side is difficult. Where Brinster and Calvin are going to be throwing their second shots, it's not ideal for trying to play for the birdie. In fact, you're going to see look at the angle that Calvin's looking at.
I've seen players go like very powerful roller from this stance or really hard flex.
This is bad.
Oh, that's terrible out there to the left
got
side.
The hard, fast kick that you just didn't hear any second kicks. See if Brinster takes his medicine, or if is he going to try the roller? Oh no!
It's a shot that's so satisfying to pull off, and you wonder if the players are just like, yeah, if I pull this off, it'll be so nice.
Right.
But super hard to execute.
Ricky, from a great spot, turns over the forehand, kicks way right. He's going to be in par mode now. Meanwhile, Aaron... Is that a mid... He went mid-range second?
Yeah, Buzz OS again. That's not easy to do on this hole.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone go forehand mid-range second shot on hole 8 before. That's insane. What a gap hit for Brinster. That is some New England style disc golf, folks. That was a beautiful shot.
And that is a very chewed up KC Pro Rock that he just threw.
It is. That thing has missed the gap many, many times to be able to get. Oh,
Yeah.
No. The joke doesn't land in time for us to really. Calvin. Oh.
This is bad.
This is really, really bad right now.
Back here, there are spots where you throw your hands up and you're shocked, and you wonder how the heck you even got in there.
How did he get there? Ricky's still giving it a good effort, but par will be the score on 8. And Calvin now from 60, and that's going to be a double bogey now, dropping him to even par after he was 3 under through 5 holes. What a par save for Steve.
Yeah, that was a nasty second shot.
If he misses that gap by an inch and he hits just the smallest bit of the right side tree, that's going to kick where Calvin was.
Yeah, that's why you kind of like to have a forehand on this course. You can kind of play the roll bounce miss on one side of the fairway, or but a lot of times when you're throwing that touchy backhand, you can risk doing what Calvin did.
It's a really good feeling birdie for Aaron. 4 under, back-to-back birdies now, and he is leading our card as Ricky taps in his par. Calvin, unfortunately, with the double, and we are now onto a stretch of really fun holes.
Hole number 9, 375, slightly downhill. The whole trick of this hole here is to hit the brakes. You have to hit the brakes right about here with whatever disc you want to throw and hit this tunnel with. Because it slopes so steep past this basket, you cannot land inside circle 1.
Nice gap hit, but the brakes I don't think are applied unless a tree hits it. Okay, well, there's the tree. That's going to be a very scary putt, though. Outside C1. Let's see how much confidence Aaron has stepping up to that look. Meanwhile, Ricky has thrown a gem. That is exactly where you want to hit on the ground. Slide up to it. A little short. Maybe that little branch slowed it down a little bit more than he'd like, but he's still gonna have a look right around C1 as well.
Oh, that shot's so spinny.
I'm just waiting for it to merge over the hill. Where was it? That could have caught a root or something, but that seemed to not be as good as it looked out of his hand. Really, all 4 of these shots. Yeah, I mean, anyone's going to take any of these 4 drives. That's really great.
This is a hole with notoriously thick rough on either side. Oh, wow.
Really short, but he gets aggressive and just slides down the hill a bit. That's going to be a tester returning par save putt for Steve.
Another birdie for Gossage. That push putt is just working for him. He's in the groove the past few weeks.
And you know how you can tell he's confident? Look at that follow through with his hand.
Yeah.
He hits his point. He doesn't do any sort of wayward motions with his arm. His hand stays on that point, and the disc just has no choice but to follow his actions and his commands. And command is what he's got right now. 5 under on the front. Ricky delivering his birdie putt. He is now 4 under.
Not super clean there for Steve. Kind of a tough front 9 for him. Lots of golf left. Calvin with the easy birdie.
Wow, 3 birdies on 9 is an impressive feat for any card. It's one of those birdies that's right there in front of you, but it still feels so good to walk away with the 2. And Steve does clean up the bogey, so he will finish his front 9 at even par. Not the score he was looking for, and 1 under wasn't the score Calvin was looking for. But Ricky and Aaron off to a good start. Not quite as hot as Andrew Marwood, though, leading the pack at 6 under, and the rest of the screen is 5s. And you've just got a ton of players out here on this course. 5 under seems to be the number.
That's the pace. I feel like double digits is what you need to do if you want to be the leader of the pack after this, this round here. It's okay to shoot 5 under par for the round total, though. I think there's
Sure.
so many rounds, 4-round tournament. There's a lot of golf to be played, but what a pace.
Yeah, there's a lot of strokes to be gained and lost at Fox Run. Here at Brewster, it's just about maintaining, but that maintaining pace means you have to be putting it down. Right now, Aaron's showing some confidence. See if he can back up that front 9, 5 under with a back 9, 5 under. That would be a hot score heading into tomorrow's Fox Run. We've got 9 more holes from round 1 here in Jeffersonville, Vermont for the Discraft Green Mountain Championships. We'll see you in just a moment.